Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Whitney, and I'm here with Blick Art Materials. And tonight I have a super fun project for you, as always. And my warning is this one is really addictive. If you like paint pouring, if you sort of jumped on that when it was gaining in popularity and got addicted to paint pouring, I have a new addiction for you, and it's going to be really, really fun. Before I really get started too far into talking about materials and product and process, because I will talk and talk and talk forever about all of that stuff, and I will forget to ask you my question of the night. And this is going to enter you to win a $100 Blick e-gift card. So make sure you join the chat and we'll get the conversation going there. My question is, what is your favorite, most loved handmade gift? And this could be something that you've given to someone else, or it could be something that was given to you that was incredibly thoughtful or beautiful or whatever makes it really special to you, right? I made a leather journal for a friend, and that was really fun. I had never worked with leather before. So that's my favorite, just because I had a blast making it. And then I think she enjoyed it as well. Tessa, have you gotten a favorite, most loved gift?
So one that I've made, I'm going to change it up actually.
Okay.
So I did make a wood burning art piece for my aunt for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So it was on one of the wood round panels that we sell, and used my wood burning kit.
That's awesome. So Tessa, I don't know if you could hear, my friend Tessa is here with me tonight. And her favorite gift, one that she made, was just for a present for her aunt, and it was using a new wood burning kit that she got on one of our round wood panels. That's super cool. I have very little experience wood burning, but it always seems so much fun.
It's not as hard as it seems.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what am I doing tonight? I am doing resin pouring with alcohol ink. And the resin I'm using is ArtResin. And I hope you can see this lovely little box on the label here. No VOCs, no BPA. It's okay to breathe in this room while I use it, which is exciting. It's safe to use, it's easy to use. You actually get, let me show you both bottles here, sorry. You get 2 bottles, you get the resin, and you get your hardener. And this is a super easy way to mix your resin. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio. You don't need to know how thick you're pouring it or the area you're covering necessarily, or there are no hardener calculations there. It's straight 1-to-1. And I'll show you how I make sure I mix that well in a moment when I get to that point. And I'm also using the Jacquard. Do I need to pull this in, Tessa? Can they see it over there? I'll pull it in. I'm also using the Jacquard Piñata Colors, and these are alcohol inks. This is the Exciter pack, which does make it sound really exciting to me. But you get just a good range of their colors, and they do have a really great color line. You can also buy individual bottles, and tonight I'm actually going to supplement their palette with a few of the Ranger inks as well, just to diversify my palette, and those do work really well together. Okay, to get started, I need to have a surface to put all of this on, right? And I am using the Blick Unprimed Studio wood panel. These come in 1.5 inch, which is nice and thick, almost a gallery profile, and it really has a presence and stands out on a wall, even when it's little like this. And the one that I will be demonstrating on is 7/8. And you do want a wood panel with some depth to it. I know we do also have ones that are really just this top portion, basically. Not 100% sure on the exact measurements, and I don't want to lie to you on Facebook Live here, so I'm not going to say a measurement, but they're very, very thin. They're almost like just the panel, no cradle. That's not ideal for what we're going to be doing, because you need to tape your edges, which means you need enough surface to do that. I find it's easiest to stand this up. Because they are so thick like that, I can just stand it on the table. And I'm going to position my tape about here. I just want a nice edge, like a catch, a fence. There we go. I want a fence for my panel. It's a good visual way of explaining it, and maybe you can see there. That's maybe 1/4 of an inch. And make sure to wrap very tightly around your corners. So I'm actually pulling my tape just a bit here. Press in there. So I am doing this so that when I pour my resin, it doesn't go all over the table, all over the floor, and my shoes, and then I've ruined our beautiful table. I'm here all night sanding it, making it beautiful for the next Facebook Live. We're going to avoid all of that, right? And you all are probably doing this at home, and you have your own lovely surfaces that you do not want marred. So really, at home, you might even want to put down a piece of plastic, or maybe you have a butcher tray, a plastic tray, anything to keep your surfaces safe, really, to put the panel on when you're pouring as well. And I'm going around a second time. And the reason I am doing this is really just extra safety. I don't feel bad about wasting a little extra tape and gaining peace of mind that I'll have a really good clean edge. It also means less work later in sanding. Okay, so I've gone around twice. I made a beautiful edge, my little fence here, and that is going to keep my resin contained. Next, I have a non-art supply here. This is just cooking oil. Now we do sell some really great mold release sprays, but honestly, this just isn't enough area to warrant that. We're talking about 1/4 of an inch here, and I don't want it to get on the wood. So I'm going to dip my finger in the oil and just rub that along. And of course, I'm a little shaky, so I did get some on the wood. It'll be okay. It's just we don't want the wood surface coated. We want the resin to stick to the wooden surface. And can you see what I'm doing here, Tessa? I just want to make sure I am angling the right way for you. Okay. Make sure I get in the corners. And in case I didn't make it clear when I started this, this is so I can remove the tape later and the resin isn't going to stick to the tape. And once more. Now, Pebeo makes a wonderful, beautiful product. They have a cradled panel that actually has a wooden edge. So they do that work for you. And I love them. I love Pebeo. I love those panels. Just to explain why I'm not using them tonight, because they are great for paint pouring, great for pouring resin, but what I want for this particular project is this beautiful, almost like a matte glass edge. I want that to extend. Up a little?
Not up, but
Not
more
up.
towards
Up.
me.
Sorry.
Back towards you.
Have I found the Goldilocks spot? All right. Cool. So I like when I'm interrupted to put things under the cameras where they need to be, because that means you all at home are seeing what I want you to be able to see, right? So this edge here, where you can see color come through, and it really, I think, adds to that illusion, which isn't even really an illusion, it's actual depth that we're creating in the work. And if you want a very glossy edge, you can even, I've sanded that lightly with sandpaper, but you can actually go over it with a Dremel, with fine sandpaper. You can like polish your resin and make it really shine. All right, so let's mix some resin. Already, I'm getting ahead of myself because I opened this and I didn't put my gloves on. So I'm just gonna take off my rings here and put on some gloves. And this is definitely something you should do at home. You do not want to get resin on your hands. Or honestly, almost worse than getting the resin on your hands is getting alcohol ink on your hands, because you're gonna have stained fingers. It's gonna stain every little crack and cut you have, and that's not a glove. And it's going to be just a nuisance to try to scrub it off. And of course you can use like a pumice soap or a little bit of hand sanitizer. Alcohol can help, but why go to all that hassle when you can just put on gloves? I'm also pulling back my sleeves because I am known for putting my sleeves in my artwork. And this is, give another little shout out for Pebeo here, which I'm not even using anything from Pebeo tonight, but it was a store demo that they did with Blick, where I learned how to first pour my resin, and that is a 2-cup method, because these have very different viscosities. So even if I were to use a measuring cup and truly measure out in the same large cup the amounts that I need, it's easy to just be off a little bit. And if you don't add enough hardener, your resin just isn't going to cure right. It might take longer to cure, and then you're there sort of snapping your fingers like, I want to do another layer. Come on, resin. And it just won't happen. So I've learned to do this 2-part, and it's just become a habit that's stuck with me for like 10 years now. So thank you, Pebeo. All right. I'm gonna let that, there's still some left. I'm gonna let it rest a bit. Maybe you could see how much faster that one poured out. That's actually my hardener. Where is it, my resin? Honestly, once as they go in these cups, I get mixed up which is which, and it doesn't matter because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's okay. And got a little more. So I do want to remind everyone, we have a question out there in our chat, and what I would like to know is, what is your favorite, most loved handmade gift? And be sure to answer that question because it will enter you into a chance to win a $100 Blick e-gift card. So you can make all the fun resin and really anything you want, right? Everything on the website is fair game with a $100 e-gift card. Also be sure to like the post, like the video, follow us on Facebook. All right, so I have my super special art tool, my plastic knife, and I am stirring my resin. And I saw Tessa tap her phone there. She set a timer for me because it does need to be mixed for 3 minutes. And it sounds like a long time, and you might even be looking at this right now and thinking, looks like it's mixed to me, but it's hard to tell. They're both clear liquids, right? Kind of milky. And it might seem mixed, but there is actually a chemical reaction going on while I'm doing this. And resin comes in a two-part system with resin and hardener separated because you do need a chemical reaction to bond them and to make this nice hard resin surface, right? That we've all come to know and love and expect from our resin. But that only happens when you mix your catalyst. So I'm just gonna keep mixing. And I know I just reminded everyone to be sure to like and follow and answer the question, but honestly, I'm just really excited to see what all of your responses are. Sort of a confession here. I get to choose what questions we're asking on the weeks that I present here with Blick, and I always I choose selfishly. I want to know, right? I really love making handmade gifts, and I love giving handmade gifts, and I've been noticing there's an uptick this year, even the past year, in giving handmade gifts, of making something for someone you love that means something a little bit more than going to a store and picking out something prefabricated, right? I'm at 3 minutes. Oh, I have 1 minute left.
Nope, you're good.
I'm good. Time is confusing, right? So I truly want to know what you all are working on, what you've gotten or given in the past. It's really my favorite thing, is reading through all those comments and seeing the range of responses. I'm just going to press this again to make sure, because I don't have a tray down. And my table looks an awful lot like my wood panel here, so it will most certainly absorb that resin. All right, I'm going to do a few things, and actually meant to mention this while I was mixing up that resin. I'm going to do a few things, few techniques, because there's a lot you can do with this. One of those things is I am going to, actually before I use ink, going to draw directly on the wood panel. That's going to be something sort of like this piece here. So I start by, and this is really just some crazy mark making. Honestly, most of it won't be seen. So when we talk about being intuitive and just letting go, this is really a project or a process within this project that can really embrace that concept. Sort of writing letters without making anything legible here. All right, so I've made my scribble. And now I'm gonna make a little scribble. Do I want passion purple? I'll try some Senorita Magenta, which is a really fun color name. Give it a nice good shake. Now these don't have roller balls in them, but you will notice in the Exciter pack there are metallics, and those do have roller balls. Those will separate more and make sure you always really give the metallics a good shake before using them. So now I'm just gonna draw with some ink. Make some lines. And again, this is gonna look crazy. It's not, you know, I would be really sad if we stopped here and someone showed this to someone and was like, this is her life's work. It's not that serious. It's, you're just making some silly marks and there's no pressure. Okay, so now back to my resin, which is nice and bubbly. I'm going to show you how to get those bubbles out in just a minute. But now I'm pouring my resin. And I can even use my plastic knife. I honestly, you know, I was using craft sticks in the beginning, and I found I really, truly do love using a plastic knife with resin because it almost acts as a palette knife. It's like a little art hack. You can stir with it, I'll draw into a piece with it in a moment, but it's really handy. It's almost like a palette knife, but I don't want to ruin a palette knife. Even a plastic palette knife, you know, that adds up. But a pack of plastic knives, however, is quite cheap indeed.
Old credit cards is a good tip too.
Oh, good one, Tessa. Yes, Tessa just said old credit cards are good too. They definitely are. In printmaking, I used credit cards for inking copper plates. I just found, like, beyond everything made to do that somehow. I always just came back to my credit card of it was just easy, and you sort of get to know a tool, and even if you know there's something better out there later, it becomes ingrained. It's like another arm. It's what you always go back to. All right. Probably should have unrolled some of these. I'm gonna do a little. Okay. So now I can set this knife down, and it will not adhere to my table while I have this out, because we know I'm gonna need paper towels. You know I'm messy. Okay. Have those there for next time. All right, so I have all these bubbles, right? No one wants bubbles. No one wants bubbles in their resin. So I get to do something really fun. I get to do it on camera. And it is safe to do, but I just want to remind everyone, be very careful when using these little butane torches. I always refer to it as my creme brulee torch, but I don't use it in the kitchen. It's only for art. We actually sell these with the butane, and you just sort of uncap, put that right in the nozzle and fill it. Mine's actually pretty full, I think, so I'm not going to fill it right now. But they're so easy to use. You have a low, a high, and a safety here. So I'm going to pull this down and then I'm going to push this. And I'm sure people with larger hands can do those all with one finger, but I cannot. And I'm just going over very quickly. I'm not getting too close. I don't want to catch my tape on fire, which I have done. It works out, but you want to avoid it, especially on camera. I would like to avoid it. See there. Of course I do it now. Gonna fill that area in with some tape before I lose all my resin. So you guys got to see what the worst would be. Luckily, none of my resin has leaked onto the table. It's below that line. So I'm just gonna be easier to do if I didn't have gloves on. So it's not that scary, even if you do mess up a little bit. You do want to be somewhere that's well ventilated, but that sort of goes without saying for resin anyways. But also when working with fire, you want to have access to water, which we have, and you want to have access to ventilation. So, all right, that's my one mess up, this one. So hopefully I got them all out of my system. All right, now I'm gonna go in. So we have this drawing, it's sitting below our resin, and I'm gonna start adding color to the top. And got some forest green here. Just gonna start dropping color in. Maybe some regular pink. This is really bright. I like this pink. I actually used quite a bit of this pink where it looks really bright here in this piece. It's this little spot right there. All right. What else? Oh, let me make sure. I know we have this. There's the roller ball. This is a gold. You want to make sure you hear that. You don't want to just plop a bunch of alcohol down into your resin and not the color. So, and this is what, I mean, I could do this all day. Eventually your resin will start to harden and you have to stop though. So that's why I've brought a few pieces with me. And I will, just as a caution, be careful with your metallics. The gold, silver, even the pearlescent, they can really take over a piece and just like cover the surface before you even know it. So just watch your proportions with it, and honestly, I think it would be fun to just do circles all over, which I did do with this piece. Let's pull that over. So this was a lot of ink actually, and I let the circles stay circles. Of course, eventually they started to move around on their own, and as it was drying, and if I look at the side of this, yeah, it wasn't perfectly level. I'm bad at leveling things. I really am. I always think I can eyeball it, and I'm like, yeah, this surface is great. It's not level, but that's okay. And I'm actually going to talk about something you can do for a piece that is not level in a moment. And what I'm doing now is, again, not the most official art tool here, but I'm using a plastic fork to drag through my color. All right, what else do I want in this piece? What else could I do? I'm gonna add a little bit of purple. And then I think I'm gonna just set this one aside for now. So I can bring in another one and show you some more things. But I just really love, I don't know if you can see it on that side camera, Tessa, but when you drop your ink in, it makes these oh so subtle divots in the resin, and it really is just addictive to play with that and to watch this fizzle out, and it's really fun. Hopefully I'm making you all jealous enough at home to go check out some resin. Maybe you've been a little bit on the fence about it and doing it at home, or whatever home studio sort of situation you have accessible, but really this can be safe to do at home, and it can be clean, and it's so much fun. So, all right, I'm gonna set this one aside now, and what I would do with a piece like this is, I told you this is like a really intuitive, we're gonna just kind of fly by the seat of our pants and do whatever for this demo, more than others, not really whatever, but you know, I've already set something on fire, so it's gonna be a fun one. But what I would do for this is I would set it aside, and afterwards I would determine then when it's dry, is it how I want it to be? Do I want another layer? Do I want to maybe draw on top of it? These are all options. So let's work through some of that. This one here is one that is not level by any means. Like I can actually feel how weighted it is on one side. And you know, I'm not like pleased with what happened with the ink here when it dried. Which is funny because I was actually talking with Ashley right before this, and she said she really liked this one. So, sorry, but it's going to go through some alterations. There's a lot of wood space up here, which I do like the wood to show through, but I think, oops, sorry, did I miss my, yeah, there we go. But I want to show you some techniques and some problem solving things. So if your resin is uneven and you love your image and you don't want it to change too much, that's okay. And like, you can either leave it uneven, but if it really bothers you, you can go in and just pour plain resin. And I'm just doing this to show that you can draw right on top. Again, you might want to make a real image. All images are real images. You might want to make a representational image, I should say. But you might not. And I'm just kind of following where I had some dark ink there, just to show how smoothly this can go along. And you can choose what you want to do with that information. You can make a representational image, you can do mark making, you can write your name, you could do a shape. You know, I might just do a really dorky flower, just to kind of see what happens here. So I'm going to experiment on camera with y'all. So I've got that kind of action going on up there, and we'll see. So make sure it's dry enough and go ahead and pour. Might need to save that a little bit. And I'm going to use my knife to go around. So if you just wanted to level out your resin that may have been uneven when drying, you can just leave your resin as is. There's no need to tint it or add on top. You don't have to. You can simply use it almost like a building material for your surface. You're just leveling. But of course, for our purposes here, and because I am who I am, I want to play with this a little bit. So move this, make sure you're in all your corners. I have a little bump here where it was too thick before, but I do want to get a good even coating, so I want to make sure it goes into that area and then levels back out again. Otherwise it will leave a like a line, a clear line, but somehow you can still see it. It's there. Okay, I'm going to go back in with, grab some Señorita Magenta again. Just going to do that. So another reason why I want to play and add some color here with you all is that maybe you're starting to see some depth within an image. This might not be the best image just yet. It's not super fun or perfect, but you're seeing color sitting on top of other color. Almost like glazing in an oil painting, but more separation. When you're glazing in oil painting or watercolor uses layers that way, right? The layers are generally more subtle. And this you can really get a lot of depth and difference. And if you want to further accentuate that, one method would be to pour clear resin, let that cure, and then come back and add color and pour more clear resin. So you're getting even more of, you can think of it as a spacer. It's a clear spacer within your surface. Anyone who's ever worked in framing, or there are those clear spacers for holding your artwork up or back, and it changes the depth of how you're perceiving the piece. And really, you can do that with layers of resin. And I actually really like where this is now. It's pretty bold. Let's go into those flowers. They're just gonna hang out on the edge of, I don't know what that looks like, Tessa. A scary sea monster coming for some flowers.
Some waves.
Some waves, yeah. And really, you can keep moving pieces. So even this one that we set aside before, I can pull this back over. Maybe I've decided I want this to shift a bit more. And you'll find, you know, if you're messing with it after it's started to try to settle into where it thinks it will be living, it moves at a different rate. It's going to be slower. You're going to get some different actions happening there and some different end results. See, now if I sort of drag through, I feel more resistance, and instead of a marbling, it kind of mixes more. Okay. And where exactly are we with time? 40 minutes. All right, so I'm going to show you. I have enough time to do one more little one. Clean up my mess here. See, it's one thing when I make messes with things that I know are washable, but when I know it's not washable, pressure's on. All right, so let's do this little one here. I'll leave this pink one for another day maybe, but I have this one, and I think I have just enough resin for this piece. It's like I planned it or something. All right. So you may have also gathered, if you've been watching from the start, is that with just 2 little small cups, I made enough resin to coat 3 surfaces, 2 that are 8 by 8 inches and 1 that is 4 by 4 inches. And of course, the depth of each of those pourings is different, but that should give you an idea of just how much you can get out of a bottle of resin. And overall, my bottle is down here now, and I've used those bottles to make everything you see up here, plus a few more that just didn't make it. There were some lost ones in there. All right, I'm not gonna say anything on fire, Tessa. Again, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna turn this down. Stay up here. Gonna be quick. There is something that I'm not going to do here, but something you could potentially, if you have a safe setup for it, do at home, and that is, you may have gathered at this point that I have a little butane torch, and I'm using alcohol ink. And if any of you are very mischievous children, you know what that means. You can actually set the surface of your resin on a very low fire, and you'll burn off that alcohol that's pooling and sitting at the top, but your color remains. That's not something I'm going to demo here. We have, like, I'm in a real building. We have sprinklers and alarms, and I would be absolutely horrified if I set any of those things off. So I'm not going to do that here, and I'm going to tell you, if you're doing it at home, to be incredibly careful. Make sure you have water ready. Make sure you have fire extinguisher. Make sure you're ventilated. Make sure any loose papers, things are out of the way. This might sound extreme because it's basically like if you've ever ordered flaming cheese at a restaurant and they do the quick fire thing. It's like that. It's very quick. It's very small. I just don't want anyone to be hurt. And on a personal note, I am actually I don't think I've shared this here before because it's just not terribly relevant. But I am from a family of fire captains. So on my mom's side, every single man on my mom's side of the family is a fire captain. So fire safety when I was growing up was really no joke at all. And I would hear terrifying stories that I would say as an adult, you probably shouldn't be telling children about fire safety in such extreme ways. But I just want to make sure everyone's safe. That's my little ramble about fire safety. I'm just gonna keep kind of moving this around. I might actually bring in my knife and do some bold drawing. You don't need to hold it while you're doing that. I just am. The nice thing about wearing gloves is it kind of makes you fearless with resin. You can do what you want here. Okay, I just want something to go over that purple to show how far back it is. All right, so I've got another little, these are all very ocean scene-like, which makes sense. I'm working with a pouring liquid flowing medium, but I just want to stress, like, there's no way to mess these up really. So even if you mess one up, if you don't like it, if it dries and it's uneven, or like the colors just aren't what you thought they were gonna be, or it didn't go where you wanted it to go, do another layer. Like, that's your answer, right? Just keep going. You didn't mess up, you're just not done yet. And for me, projects that work that way are so much fun. And like really feel empowering in a way, because you're making all these decisions and it's totally yours. There's a freedom to that. So this one, it might appear not done to you, but I fell in love with this little piece. Like, it's kind of silly maybe, but I just love it. It's so charming, and I don't know if maybe if I hold it this way, you can see it better. Like, it has these little cells, and then it's a little bit shiny below. Down. Okay, cool. And shiny below, and it just, I find it really charming. So, if a piece that you thought, and I made it to pour a bunch of stuff on top of it. That was my plan when I first made it. So when you're working with an intuitive process, you have to, it's very introspective. You have to acknowledge those moments where you're like, you know, I didn't think this was done before, but now I do, and I'm okay with it. And I'm going to remove the tape. So that's what I'm showing you here. This came off so easy. Which is great because it's live. And that's always when things get messed up, right? This is quite nice. And you'll notice, ooh, okay, it's getting more and more charming. It has beautiful edges. I'm very pleased with myself. So you can see this is just a project all about sort of following your heart and just being, there's a kind of joy to making something really fun this way. All right, so maybe I can't get off all, oh, no, I can. All right, so at this point, what I would do is, and I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'll actually do it because it might sound terrible on my mic. but you do want to run a piece of, yeah, maybe not. You do want to run a piece of sandpaper over your edge. I'm going to kind of move this around and tell me if it's working out. Can you see how the edge is a bit jagged, Tessa? Yeah. And it also has this like it undulates before it comes up again. So there's an edge. And I would want to knock that down some. So that's where the sandpaper comes in. Sandpaper is pretty self-explanatory anyways. You want to stay even, you know, you do your thing. I think y'all got that part. I have one here since we have a little bit of time, and I want to give everyone a chance to answer that question in the feed. If you haven't joined the chat yet, now is your time. We're at last call. So the question is, what is your favorite, most loved handmade gift? And this could be something that you made for someone else, or it could be something that you received. So answer that question to enter to win a $100 Blick e-gift card. Also, like this post, like the page, follow us on Facebook. All that good stuff, right? Who doesn't want a free $100 e-gift card? This girl does even. Everyone wants one. So this is one that I actually did several layers on this. And you might see here, I didn't double tape. This is one of the early ones. And more towards you. This is one of the early ones that, you know, I was just trying it out. And I made some mistakes and I didn't have my tape fully down. So I actually brought this to see if I could show you something that's difficult to remove, right? And honestly, even this one is going good. It's going really good, Tessa. Look at that. Okay. So don't be discouraged, right? I know there are a lot of perfectionists out there, and truly, I can be one of them. We're always hardest on ourselves, right? But this is quite lovely. Even that spill, you know, if I really, really wanted to, I could... sandpaper won't take care of that, but I could use a Dremel tool and just kind of zip over it. Make sure your piece is clamped to make sure it's not going to zip with your Dremel. But I could grind all of that off, but I don't want to. And that's artist's choice. So I'm going to have this cool edge here. Now I will sand these edges just to make sure they're not too jagged and sharp, but, well, my failed example failed. That's what I get for planning one. All right, well, I'm just too good, of course. No, ArtResin is too good. This has been a really, really fun project, and clearly I had a blast. I couldn't stop making them. I have more panels down here, and I still have like over half a jug of resin. So I think I'll be making some more panels, and I would love to see what you make. You can always post your artwork and hashtag Blick Art Materials. I know I'd love to see what everyone's working on, and yeah, maybe we'll put that on our page. So definitely like us, follow us, and join us on Thursday. We will have another demo with a guest artist. So happy you joined. Have a great night.